Like we are live. Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Wednesday night. The Good Life. Man, we're having the good conversations on health, wealth, love, happiness, all of the things that will allow you the opportunity to experience the good life, because that's what we're all after. And I got the fellas here with me. What's up, gentlemen? How's everybody doing?
Chilling.
Great, man.
Making it happen.
Mango over here.
Down here crushing the mango. Does it get in your teeth, Kobi? That's the question. Does it get into your teeth? Do you brush or toothpick, or how does that work?
Now that you brought attention to it definitely will get in my teeth throughout this entire thing. But I'm a floss kind of guy.
Okay. I'm a floss kind of guy too. So we'll make
Shout out to dentists. What's up?
Shout out to the dentist. There we go. We're flossing. Mango is a great fruit for sure. It's a great fruit, and I love it. Stu had a crazy weekend in Vegas. We were just talking about it, by the way. If you weren't joining us,
shout out to the dentist.
Hey, always coming in with a book. Always coming in with the book. What was the name of that book?
Kiss your dentist goodbye.
Ooh.
You know me, man. I'm always trying to find my way out of the web.
Yeah.
So, you know me.
No mouth breathing here.
No.
that'll mess your teeth up.
Negative. Boy, close your lips.
Hey, I've caught myself a few nights laying down, and then I'll feel my mouth open, pause, and then I'll close it up real quick.
Because know how we all have like things that we probably do that our grandma or mom did or something when we get sick. One of the things you should add to that, as you start to feel that throat irritation come on, is to immediately make sure that your nose breathing during sleep and at all times if possible. Because part of you breathing through the nose is filtration of the air and the particles that are going through and the warming and the temperature change and all of that. That plays a huge part in us getting imbalances in our system. I wouldn't even call that, then force our body to try to bring it back to homeostasis, which produces symptoms that we call I'm sick.
Have you read Breathe?
Yeah, I think I hit you back on that. I actually grabbed a copy of that as gifts last Christmas.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. But I fully haven't gone through it myself.
Halfway through it, absolutely huge fan. And one of the recommendations he mentioned was actually breathing through your nose while you're sleeping, and in order to ensure that, taping your lips shut to build that habit.
Yeah.
I did that. I did that for 3 weeks. 3 weeks solid. When Kobi first introduced that to me, I went to sleep with tape on my mouth. And the first few nights, it was a little rough, just to be honest. Like, you wake up in the middle of I woke up in the middle of the night, like, what is this? like, forgetting that I done that myself, right? So, but yeah, that's that is definitely something. That is definitely something that we can continue to practice. So,
and that's the thing too, man. It's all about what I do is all about pulling together these 20% habits, right? That really makes such a big difference in lifestyle wise, and putting them into bite-sized pieces that we can build our lifestyle around. Right. See, I think one of the big mistakes we make a lot of times is we try to take things we know are good and try to fit them into our life rather than redesigning the life to fit around the tenets that we hold dear and true, And yeah, I think that's major.
That is major. That is major. Say that again, because that was really good, man. Like that's a bar for real. Like we need to put that on a shirt or something. But say that again.
I realized I should elevate my computer. Let me do that here, fellas. There we go. How's that? Oh yeah, there we go. So now that I have your attention, but what I was saying, I believe is, oftentimes what I see is individuals who take we'll take things that we know to be good. Oh, I should be doing that. Oh, I really should be doing that. And then we'll try to fit them into our life rather than deciding what tenets, what principles, what way of living do we believe in and hold to be true, and then build our life around that, right? For a totally different conversation, we've talked about religion and faith and all that in the past. I think one of the major benefits of religion is that it puts you into a set of practices that are theoretically, choose wisely, that are when practiced on a day-to-day basis, like I mentioned, this praying 5 times a day, Ramadan, or giving to the poor, or right, things that when practiced actually bring quite a bit of flavor to our lives and quite a bit of satisfaction, and shapes our lives in a certain way. And guess what? It also creates a community of like-minded individuals that makes it easier for you to actually fulfill, right? You create like a community group, all right? So I've said one of the things I'm looking to invest in, somewhat jokingly, is a church, man, because I tell you, tax benefits are fantastic, you know, and for some reason you wrap things up and correctly, and people are like, yeah, I'll eat fruits and vegetables. Oh yeah, didn't think about that on your own without Saint Broccoli or something coming by, right?
That's actually very, very funny.
Starting a show. This is great.
Say it again.
No, I was saying
you started the show.
You started the show. Is that what you said, Stu? You started the show.
Yeah, sorry, the echo is weird. I was basically just saying, is he starting a show with like Saint Broccoli and like this whole hybrid? I had this whole vision. I felt it. But sorry.
Yeah, like that should be a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I literally had in my head some form of VeggieTales. So,
what's interesting though that I was going to bring up is one of the things I've been playing around with as an idea is a vertical farming business, indoor farming business, right? Like just something that we have the ability to grow our own foods indoors. And what I wanted to do actually long-term in the business plan was to buy churches, the church buildings, and then be able to use that for the vertical farming, right? Because these church buildings that are built, especially like, you know, I'm outside of Philadelphia. So these big church, like they're big stone, right? Massive, ginormous type of structures that really aren't going to get knocked down or shouldn't get knocked down, but we could change kind of how we look at them and what we use inside of them. If it's not going to be for a religious service, can it be for a health concern, right? Like can it turn into the place we grow our food, so the next generation knows that church building to be the symbol of where you get your healthy food, right? Like it's all symbolism. I remember seeing that in the what movie was that? The Founder, right? Where he's driving around and he's like, you know, like American flags or like steeples or something. Like he's like comparing, like every city has like a flag or a post office or something like that, and then like a church, and like they all represent something. It's not what happens inside, it's like what they represent. So I was trying to throw that in there also. Thought that
I like it.
But anyway,
because you can also negotiate a little bit more on those structures too, because there aren't too many people who are out to get them.
Exactly, 100%, right? Like I see a bunch that are up for sale right now, but what can you do with that? What can you do, like outside of putting a church in it right now? Like what else would you do with that type of building? And right, why not change what it looks like, right? Change kind of the connotation of when you go by that, what it actually means. So those are just ideas. We're throwing them out.
House of Healing.
House of Healing. Look at that. We need to take this offline. We're throwing out these
hey, listen, if you take this, I require 10%.
We need to make the Good Life some form of a recipient of the royalties on this. Where this idea came from. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Again, we're here having these conversations around health, wealth, love, happiness, all the things that are going to get you to the good life. Today, we were going to dive into a topic that we were talking about right before on our pre-show, which is just really talking about the levels to getting to the good life. But in each individual area, what we started to really understand and kind of uncover a bit just by us talking is that, you know, there's different levels to your knowledge. There's different levels to achieving the thing that you want in each individual area. I started talking about on the money side, right, that there's the 101 information, then there's the 202 information and the 303 information that will allow you to get to where you want to be. And sometimes you can't give 303 information to people at a 101 level because they won't get it, right? And sometimes the people that are stuck at the 101 level that want to get to 301 have to get new information. We talked about this from a money side, but we can also talk about this from a health side. We can also talk about this from a mindset, wellness, right? Mental health side, because we all have different levels. We all starting at a different place and require different information in order to get us to where we want to go. So we wanted to play around with this topic a bit here on The Good Life so we can really, again, lay out some of these things that will help you get there. A lot of people don't have the path or don't know how to get there, but we definitely want to help in this area. So let's start it out. Kobi, start with you. I know we started by saying, like, what is 101? So like on the health side where you are, what is 101? What information do you think people need? Where are people's mindset at the 101 level when they're just starting to pay attention to it?
Yeah. I think on the health side, the 101 level is just building like a sustainable lifestyle that isn't going to kill you tomorrow, right? So getting out of the SAD, the standard American diet, and eating whole foods, right? Or even just eating better. All right, it doesn't even have to be necessarily whole foods, but not going to your standard fast food. If you let's say Joey's our standard, our SAD 101 before 101 transformation, right? Joey might go to work, or early in the morning. Joey would get up kind of late, hit the alarm clock, rush, grab some coffee as the first intake of the day. Maybe shoot back a couple of texts. Hop in the car, or maybe hop downstairs, put on a shirt, get online, do work for like 8, 9, 10 hours. During that time, it's lunchtime. They'll grab something or order something, or go to the closest shop and grab a sandwich or something like that. Head back home. Energy's pretty low. Might have family obligations to take care of. Just kind of like does that. Walks the dogs, spends time with family, like eats, some steak and potatoes, and or might even is single. Joey might even be single and driving home and just like order something, right? That's like before 101 level. Through 101 level, Joey cleans up his diet, so Joey's cooking a little bit more. Joey's family has a meal plan. And you'll see a lot of how this goes hand in hand with money too, right? As a meal plan, so now also has a budget. Joey now is also drinking more water throughout the day. Instead of rushing in the morning, Joey might take 10 minutes to journal, grab some fruit. Maybe, if not fruit, at least grabs something whole and living, right? And then at lunch, Joey might pack some lunch, right? So, and then, instead of rushing home, and Joey might spend an hour after work, or during lunch going for a walk, or maybe hitting the gym and doing some standard push-pull standard workouts, right? Maybe using machine, maybe using a little free weights, might even be very advanced in one of these categories, might be very, very comfortable using free weights, for example, right? But but maybe really not that good in terms of drinking water, right? So, Joey's getting into a better routine. That's like 101 level. That's like, and towards the end range of 101 level, right? Joey might be building some muscle, might be, might actually look very good, might actually have hit their sort of aesthetic goals, right? The shift from 101 to 202, I think far fewer people make that shift.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And we'll jump into it because I think you laid a good foundation for what 101 is, because Joey resonates with a lot of people, I'm sure, right? Like,
what else would you guys add? Joey at 101, living that lifestyle.
You kind of touched on it at the beginning where you said that whole imagery of him hopping out of bed, him like getting to work. Like it's just this very fast paced, immediately out of bed, straight from horizontal to theoretically sprinting. And I think at that 101 level, people finally recognize that it's okay to slow down. Just relax. Like recognize that you don't always have to be in a rush. You don't always have to have your heartbeat stimulated by some type of caffeine, like you were mentioning. You don't always have to be breathing real quick, trying to figure out, like, okay, I got to do this today. I got to do this today. I got to do this today. Just take it one step at a time and like actually slow down and enjoy that moment. And I think that's probably the 101 and more of the mental side, like actually recognition of how time is important and being present is important. But there's still not a whole lot of mechanisms or structure on how to regulate them staying present.
Solid. That's solid. And again, those two things line up, right? As you can go right into it and see from how we're waking up and then what we're consuming or what we're putting into our body versus what we're consuming with our mind or what we're looking at or what we're thinking about, right? And what we're paying attention to. So all those things definitely are, I think that 101 side. Denise on here says exercise in the morning helps your brain and body relax. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I'm a big believer, and thank you for that, Denise. Like how you start your day, right, has a huge impact with how your day flows, with what's going to happen, with what kind of cycle happens throughout your day. Right. So that's definitely a huge part. I specifically talk about the 101 in money a lot of times because often what I see both sides. Oftentimes I see people skipping the 101 because they think it's too basic and they try to get to the 202, not realizing that 101 part is actually incredibly important. I have a bit of a framework when I talk about 101 on the money side, right? Where people sit financially, that then you can start to build on those things, right? The mundane kind of how you broke that down could be about like, this is just the routine, right? That average, ordinary people just go through. We very much so have the same things with our money, very much so have the same things. But the things I always focus on are, right, your budget, your income and expenses. It's a real basic part of the 101 of your financial life, but how many people actually work off of a budget? How many people actually have a clearly defined written budget, not a budget in your head, but a clearly defined written spending plan? That's what a budget is. It's a spending plan, right? Not many people, but that becomes very, very basic level, that 101 when it comes to dealing with your money. Do you have the habit of saving? The second part of that 101s. I use those words specifically. Saving is a habit. It's not about how much. Yes, we have savings goals, but the act of saving is a habit. It's something that you have to learn how to continue to do. It's something why you have to learn how to pay yourself first, because it's a habit, right? People struggle with the 202, which we'll get to. They struggle with that because they don't have the habit. They haven't built the habit of saving. Just because they came into a little more money doesn't mean that they understand how to save it or put it aside. So that's very 101 for kind of the financial side. Then you look at the debt piece, right? We were having a bit of a conversation about good old Dave Ramsey, right? And him, you know, he has some great methods and to teach people how to get out of debt. It's one of like his strengths, right? Like if you're sitting in any forms of debt, it's a very 101 method. Like you got to get out of this consumer debt, right? You got to understand that that's not helping your financial life. So absolutely. Are people able to do that? Or are you still running up credit cards? Are you still, you know, in too much debt, paying too much interest, right? Like, are you paying attention to those things? These are 101, right? This is the stuff that most people are dealing with in their financial life. It's the basic things. And then once you get past some of those basics, then we can start to take that step up to some of the other areas, right? But I know that cash flow, like expense side of things, savings habits, and debt, very much so the 101 of people's financial life that, you know, you have to learn how to master that stuff and get good at it before you can continue to move on. So
101.
That is the 101, guys. That's the 101. Why do we want to start there? We want to share with you guys that everyone, no matter if you're trying to improve health, wealth, mindset, right, your lifestyle, whatever it is you're trying to improve, you have to understand what the foundation of this is, right? How to build on knowledge, right? Because then once you have a foundation of it, then you can start building on it. Then you can start having different conversations. But what that will require is different information. That's the key. When you want to go to the next level, you've got to have different information. Because if you keep the same information, you'll stay at the 101 level. That's the way that it works. So now let's bounce in, guys. And anybody have anything to finish up on that? Otherwise, I was going to say, go ahead, Stu.
Yeah, so I was thinking, you know, we haven't touched on the health, wealth, love, and happiness piece in this situation. So I was kind of just sitting back and pondering on what would it be like to not yet be in the 101 when it comes to relationships and love and even just platonic relationships. And I think the thing that's screaming out to me right now is codependency, where you are choosing your relationships out of need or loneliness or something other than just a healthy desire to love yourself and include somebody else who loves himself in your life. So I think that would be the verge. And I think really if you wanted to break into the 101 when it comes to love and relationships, you're talking about loving yourself and being comfortable with the idea that you're okay on your own, perhaps not for your whole life, but at least for part of it to where you find somebody where there's synergy.
Yeah. Are you saying that that's before 101 or that is 101?
That is 101.
That is 101.
And I think a lot of people actually don't necessarily get to 101 in their lifetime.
That's big. That's big, right? Like that relationship piece and understanding like the codependency, like the fact that you're not whole, and you're trying to, right, be in relationship, or you're trying to fill that need, fill that wholeness with another person. I think it's huge, right? It's a huge 101 part.
My better half.
Say it
yeah, so bizarre.
Yeah, it's everywhere, man.
I hate that stuff, man. And it's like if you don't do it right, people get in this like, do you really like her?
What do you mean she's not your ball and chain?
Yeah. Like what? It's insane. It's insane. Oh. Yeah, man. I think it's just like bizarre that yeah, go ahead. But you were going to talk about transitioning from 101 to 202.
You can finish your thought, bro. Like I don't know. We kind of diverted a bit because I did want to go to the 202 part of it, but sticking on the relationship part, I don't. I think that like one, this doesn't get addressed enough. Just to be honest. And I think there's even some more basic things around relationships, even platonic relationships, right? Like just on some, like, we're really struggling with relationship, I think, as a society. When's the last time as an adult you made a friend, like a real friend, like someone that like you could like tell your failures to and like talk and have comfort and like be vulnerable with, like, and like and enjoy each other? When's the last time you did that as an adult?
It's been a while, man. I think it like really goes around. Well, I guess no. I've met folks through the work that we do, right? Through. But I think your point still stands in that like it's school, work, maybe place of faith, and I guess you can throw in bars and whatnots, right?
Just
other than that, like we don't really make connections.
Calling me out.
I really didn't want to put that out there, but I thought about that. I was like, wait, I don't think I've ever met anybody at a bar, period. So it didn't apply to me, but
there's something really cool about actually having an in-depth conversation with somebody at a bar. That people open up a lot easier.
3 solid friends. That's that's a really sorry to interrupt, bro. I think that's a really interesting point. I just saw that, caught my eye. Like, how many solid friends do you think most of your adult friends actually have? Real talk. Your wife and husband don't count.
Absolutely. That's the point, because it's very few for adults. It's very few, and our society is causing us to spread further and further and further apart and be further and further and further away. That, like, I don't know that gets better. That being said, how many friends do we actually need? Right? How many solid people? There's a number of 150. I forget whose ratio that was, but like we could only like really have close relationship with 150 people. That's all we're like our brain is allowed to really take in or can take in. There's some principle on that.
All right, well, let's play with 150. That's 150, and then I think most people are around like 2 or 3. So that's still a fairly big gap.
It's true. It's true. And
this is a weird topic for me because I literally am aware that the vast majority of my friendships are lopsided to where I'm putting in more of the effort and I just don't care. Like, so to me, I feel like my number is actually really high because we have certain moments, and you asked that question more generically, like when's the last time you made like a real friend? Sunday night. Like, but that I'm the crazy extrovert. Like I totally put myself out there. But I think if I were to really like try and get on the same definition as you guys as to like a solid friend. So thank you very much, Denise, for bringing this up. Solid friend. Like somebody you can really open up to and you feel comfortable sharing your losses and victories.
And the other side of it too, Stu, as you're thinking about it, is are they there for you when you hit the wall, when you struggle, right? Like that, I heard that from, I want to say Scooter Braun. I take information from all types of places, right? But I feel like I heard that from Scooter when he said he went through something crazy traumatic in his life and nobody was there for him, but he felt he was always there for all of the people around him. And his wife told him something along the lines of like, you created this for yourself, right? Like you give to them, but you never open up to them, right? So like you're their support, but like no one's there to support you because you actually don't open up to them on the same level, right? So like that's when you really start to figure out like, are these friends? Like, or do I just have a bunch of people that like me because I'm doing this for them, you know what I mean? But I'll let you get back to your thought.
Well, that was a nice little tee off you just had there, because I actually don't really view friend as a black and white situation on off. I view it as just like a percentage, like my absolute closest friends that I could immediately call up and say like, yo, what's up? Like, this is what's going on with me. Or they know they can call me. A lot of people don't even, like, I put myself out there so the door is open for them to do the same. And a lot of people are too like nervous to do that. One of my closest friends doesn't open up to anybody. And it's like, what? Like, how do you even function? And, hey, he's different than me, right? Everybody's different. But I don't know. That was an interesting example you brought up with that gentleman that got told he did this to himself. Because I think it just depends on what people's expectations are. Like to bring up Kobi's phrase that I use like, dude, daily, committed but not attached. I'm committed to making friends in every single situation, whether they reciprocate or not. I really don't care that much because my expectation is that they won't, and then I allow myself to be surprised. So, but I think in reality, how many super close friends do I have? It's got to be less than 10.
Yeah, and I think that's really high for people that I know. You know, and like you said, it says a lot about the type of individual you are. You know, opened up to the world, open up to people, open up to new possibility. Because a lot of what you just said, I think that explanation behind the, you know, what the expectations are in forming that friendship, I think that might be the key right there. Because I don't know if, I'm not sure I really move from that position. I think I give not expecting, so I'm not attached, but that doesn't mean friendship for me. For me, that means that that's just me giving.
Right.
Right. So I oftentimes ends up in a situation where I do that so often that I almost don't know when or refuse to like I think what you just shared, Chris, to open up to those that are willing to give. And I don't is that pattern, right? I'm not recognizing the pattern of like, man, I also want to make a contribution to your life if you will let me. Right. So I think both of you bring up a lot of really good, two very, very, very important key points.
Yeah. And this was all started by Denise. So thank you, Denise. We appreciate you. We always love the input here on The Good Life. So, but yeah, this relationship topic, right? Like, again, friends, it's tough for me to, and I'm kind of more on your side or kind of in your line of thinking, could be about like, I don't just relate it. Like a friend is someone that it is give and take, right? Like, you know, I see Denise said they love you even when you make mistakes, right? Like, absolutely. But you have to be vulnerable at that place that like you tell them you make mistakes, or that you show them that you've made mistakes, or right, like that you struggle with something, or that like there is this back and forth, right? Like anybody that I give to, similar to what you're saying, so like I don't, if I'm giving just for the sake of giving, right, because that's just who I am as a person in general, I'm not looking at that like necessarily friendship. I'm giving to you, right? Like I want to help you out. I want to, but like when we really dive into like, are you a friend, someone I can call friend? It's when like, I feel like I always measure it by when I'm going through something, right? When I'm at a low moment, who are the people that are there are the friends, or the people that I've allowed in to a degree, right? But the people that also are there to continue to comfort and help you through the process. I think that's what I would classify as a friend. And then when you go back to that question of like, well, when's the last time you really made a friend, or how many of them do you actually have? That number is very low. I think, I mean, for me, and you know, just that number's low, right? There's people that love me, I know, and care about me, I'm sure, but like, not everyone cares about your problems. It's just true.
It's some real shit.
It's just true, right? Like you just have to know that. Like not everyone cares. It's great when times are good, but like when you really have some stuff going on, like who's there? Who's there, right? Good old Drake line. I just forgot it. Just as I was thinking of it, it's in Emotionless. It's all these followers, but who's gonna follow me to the end? Something along those lines. We'll get that.
That is very Drake-ish.
That is very Drake-ish.
Drake. Wow.
Stu, you're deep in thought. Talk to me.
I'm trying to find this line right now. I'm going crazy on Google.
It's on Emotionless on Scorpion, on the Scorpion album. The song is Emotionless. He's literally
followers who gonna follow me to the end. I guess it make it to the end. I'm gonna find out then.
There we go. Good job, man.
Fun fact: I learned that Drake in a very recent speech is actually super self-conscious in some ways, and that's one of the reasons why he has such like emotionally deep lyrics, dude. He gets you.
That's really tough because Drake doesn't write his own lines.
Oh, cut it out! Cut it out!
Oh man!
Oh,
cut it out!
I'm always good for a bar.
Either way, he is though. Most artists in general.
Let me live my life, Kobi.
Exactly right. Let him live his life. Let him live his life.
Denise, we are from the U.S. with a little bit of international in us too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're the U.S., Denise, but we show respect to Canada where Canada's due, right? And then Stu's
Commonwealth.
Yeah, although I've been talking to a lot of folks in Canada recently, and
oh yeah,
Toronto, Vancouver, they're loving
guys.
it.
We're international, just so you know.
We've been international.
Hey,
yeah.
Shout out to Anuj. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. So either way, guys, we're here. Man, we got off on a Drake tangent. Look at that. Drake just takes us.
Tell me what's happening.
We got a lot of stuff going on over here on The Good Life.
Yo.
That's why Denise is in Toronto. So we're talking about Six God over here, right? Like he's the guy. So either way, that's awesome. Yeah.
Like
anyway,
great things about Toronto.
I know,
especially Toronto summers.
We got to get to Toronto. Haven't been, so we got to get up there.
Good life trip. Toronto.
Good life trip. Hey, we might have to turn this other way. We might have to turn this live. I was about to say, right? Like we always got to step up our game. We're at episode 21. Like we just got to 21, and we might need to step up the game. We might need to get to some live shows. But anyway, right? Like in Toronto,
if we get one person to show up for a live show, I'll be good. I'll be like, let's go.
Denise, we're counting on you if it's in Toronto.
Exactly. If we're going to Toronto, we're literally counting on Denise to be able to show up and just be that
would be great.
Yep. And Denise will be like the loudest person in the crowd.
Yeah. That'd be dope. So either way, 202. We digress, right? We were talking about the 101. So we gave a great foundation for the 101 side of things. Now let's talk about what's needed to get to the 202. What does the 202 look like? Either one of you gentlemen can start on that side in your respective area. But what does the 202 look like? I'll start on my side then, guys. How about that?
All right.
I didn't want to be greedy with the airtime there, so you go ahead.
No, take it. I threw it over to you, bro. Like, you got it. Take it. It's the 202.
All right, running down the sideline here. 202 level, I think a few things change, right? And I think it really, a lot of 202 comes down to you've got a lot of the what components in place, right? Movement-wise, food-wise, water-wise. You should be drinking eight things of water. And actually, if you guys don't mind, I like to do it. I'm very methodical in these side of things, so I like to do it. Kind of pull up this. I may or may not already have something cooked up for this, guys.
Ooh, prepared.
But let's look at all the 7 areas, right, and look like how you might elevate your game at the 202 level. When you look at movement, a lot of what mainstream media is pushing is kind of like aesthetics based, is very much so not really with the idea of what true health is in mind, but more so as into satisfying our animalistic urges, right? Which, all good, all fun and games until some. No, I'm just kidding. But all fun and games, all right. But I think it then becomes using movement as a meditation, right? So bring in awareness to what you're doing, not just curling, lifting, slide in, jump in, not just doing all that, but like, can you bring mindfulness or to what you are actually doing, right? And can you use it as a form, as a way of you getting into flow state, right? Can you use it as a way of you getting, but so now, you know, you're moving in a much higher quality of movement, right? You're not just doing your typical squats and whatnot, but you actually kind of return back to the basics with a heightened level of body awareness, with a heightened level of body changes, right? So your body it's being fueled better, it's being taken care of better, you're sleeping better, you're doing all those things better. So when you come back to like, okay, now let me take another look at this movement and movement pattern, you're doing it from a much higher level of understanding of your body, of your mind-body connection, and of bringing awareness and mindfulness to the movement. I think that's 202, and that, in my opinion, if you want to do it quicker, requires a coach. I think eventually you can get there, but I think right there you benefit greatly from a coach. And I'll say, you know, food-wise, it's again kind of the same thing. Realizing that coming back to food, it's not just it's kind of graduating out of the food addiction pyramid, is what I'll call it, where, you know, when we eat certain foods, we're in this hypnotized state of consumption, right? Where it's difficult. It's a true addiction, right? And, you know, we'll kind of like boil it down to like, oh, it's sugar. Oh, it's this, it's this, it's this. Well, it's kind of like a whole thing, right? It's a cultural addiction. It's a physical, chemical addiction. It's a lifestyle, relationship type of addiction. Like, it's a lot of things at play here. And it's one of the few addictions that's been okayed, right? We joke about it, we laugh about it, we put it in the store, we do all this stuff, but it is a true addiction, right? So that's in the food component. And then you look at, you know, the hydration component. I think you graduate from consuming water because you know you should, to now elevating the quality of the water that you're consuming, and you're consuming it actually strategically, not just pounding a gallon of water a day. Right.
Wait, so that's not good?
No, stop. See, you're trying to boil it down to just, yes, black and white, but it's not the case. That's not the case at all. We're talking about elevation, right? Because remember, what works for Dave Ramsey getting out of debt, building that foundation, doesn't work at 202 level. We're elevating our game, our understanding. It's not, thank you, I planted that student for a reason. It is not that, oh, this behavior is not good. This is a lot of what you see on social media. Oh, this is not good for you. Oh, this is best for you. That's not the case. There's like we identify, a foundation building, right? Listen, if you're, let me watch my language here, but listen, if you are drinking Pepsi or Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke as your primary form of liquid, and you graduate from there to drinking 8 glasses of any type of water, oh yes, of course that's good, right? But now going to the level of elevating the quality of water that you're having, that's a different discussion. I don't have that discussion for a one-on-one level. I don't tell a one-on-one level person, hey, listen, you should consider looking at a Kangen water machine. I don't do that, because they don't even understand why in God's green earth would I even make that type of investment into my water. What's the point of that? They're not there yet, right? Yep. But there's definitely levels to water. Like, it's not all the same. Trust me on that, right? So does that answer your question, good student that I place?
That does, sir.
What's interesting?
Yeah, and then you look at. Go ahead. Should I keep going, or you?
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna add on to it, but you're on a roll.
Yeah. Then you look at your consumption as like a way of increasing energy boosting activities in your life and decreasing energy, you know, whatever you want to call it, right?
Energy drains or something. Yeah.
Energy drains in your life. And I think it's simply that it literally is that simple. this causes my energy to go up. This causes my energy to do that, and shifting over to as many energy boosting activities as possible, right? And that taking that mindset and applying it to your food completely changes how you see food, completely changes our addiction, our tie, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, I'll give one more example, and I think the rest we can fill in later. But the rest, one more example would be our sleep. I think that's one that's often overlooked. It's you graduate from this like, oh, I need, 8 hours of sleep. Listen, again, and hopefully you're starting to see the cycles and the patterns that exist. If you are continuously working off of terrible sleep, 2 hours, 3 hours, and the quality is really bad, and you graduate to getting in bed, let's say 6 to 8 hours. Oh yeah, that's 101. We got that. Yes, let's do that. But now let's look at the quality of sleep. What do you do before bed? What do you do during bed? What is your positioning in bed? Right? What is your thought process right before you doze off? What is your thought process right after you come out of REM sleep? What is your first few steps, first few thought process, first few actions right after you wake up? And stuff? Because all of those things, now we're higher level, right? Are you slowing down your breath during sleep so you're getting that nitric acid into your blood to dilate your vessels, right? So so there's you got the 8 hours, great. Now let's elevate it to 202, and I think a lot of 202 comes down to mindfulness on a whole new level, like just mindfulness on a whole new level in everything they're doing.
No, Denise, you should not stop. This is great for your brain. This is great before bed. So yes, you keep watching us because we're
like Kobi said, there are exceptions in certain situations.
Wait, what is this before bed?
Like this, like she's joining us.
She's on her phone checking this out.
Yeah, like IG Live, right? Like watching us.
Yeah. Because I guess it is kind of late over there. Well, listen, again, 101, 201, and also we look at these things that allow us to flow within a container, right? You flow within a certain range, okay? So
and those are all the things, man. Like I think, obviously, bro, you always hit on a lot of the things that we're not necessarily paying attention to, that most people are not. And again, that's the 202 level, because most people are still on the 101 level, right? So they're not even at this place, and we can start having the conversation a bit more about 202 once they understand the 101. But yeah, man, those were solid points too. What I know you wanted to piggyback on a couple.
Yo, Kobi, you laid up the best alley-oop I could think of with the mindfulness comment for 202. That is everything when it comes to happiness and how you perceive the world and how you perceive yourself, and whether or not you're an individual or you're chasing conformity and popularity. Like, so I think to me, when you start getting into the 202 level when it comes to mindfulness, are you able to separate your own thoughts and desires from those around you? Are you able to separate your emotional state from those around you? Can you distinguish these things? Are you able to shift out of a constant state of empathy and jump into sympathy, where you are cognizant of what someone is feeling, but you are putting up a wall to make sure that if someone else is angry, I don't have to be angry. I'm gonna handle this situation 10 times better because I'm not angry. Like situations like that. And I think other pieces of mindfulness, distinguishing the life that you want to live versus what's been programmed into general society. Basically becoming an individual, like, and having your own thoughts and having your own desires. Maybe being that guy that is actually okay being single for a certain period of time, or that guy that's actually okay putting his viewpoints out against the media, or a guy that's actually okay completely transitioning out of a standard restaurant business and starting up his own wealth thing and just completely hustling and setting an example for the rest of us. Like actually able to figuring out your own path and recognizing that you do not have to be tied to those around you. It's a choice. You get to pick who you become empathetic with, who you let into your emotional state. And I think that when you approach that level of mindfulness and that control over your thoughts through things like proper meditation, not just what is called meditation, which is sitting in silence, like actually meditation with some type of intent, with consistency, recognizing that you as an individual have your own balance of fun, aka short-term gratification, or a long-term plan, and just structure and fluidity, like basically understanding all the inner workings of yourself. I think also in the 202 level is an elevated sense of self-love. I think a lot of people at the 101 level have this idea that self-love is getting my nails done. I literally heard that today. I was like, how do you take care of yourself? Getting my nails done. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's where okay. So we got room for improvement. Hell yeah, let's do it. So when you were talking about self-care at the 202 level, you get a lot into what Kobi was just talking about with being able to get yourself into a flow state based on a certain set of activities. I love what you were talking about when it came to movement and that flow state. That's when you're really getting it. For me, when you're transitioning from 101 to 202 on the health side, you were talking about mindfulness. To me, mind-body connection comes into play there. So I think that if you're actively able to recognize that, like you said, you're not just throwing up a weight for a curl, but you can feel what it's doing. You can feel the stabilizers. You can actively focus on building or strengthening, stabilizing, whatever you want to stabilize. And you're able to imagine what it's like on those muscles and on those bones and like what's actually happening. I think you're in the 202 state, and it plays so heavily into the mind-body connection. So
that's huge. That's huge. Real quick, get to this question from Aaron. It was when you talked about sleep a little bit. He's asking, is it bad to go to sleep really late if you're still getting 6 to 8 hours? Right? Does it really matter what time you go to sleep? You always hear that. And talk about that. Is that a 101 level? Is that a 202? Like how are we thinking about this question?
Everything is bad. Anything can be good. You know, it's not really like a bad thing. So maybe, Aaron, if you're hearing this, maybe you can update a little bit to give a little bit more context.
Not in paragraph form, Aaron, not in paragraph form if you are listening, because we had this. Anyway, go for it.
Yeah, timing does matter in terms of us entering into our best sleep cycles and getting the most rest we can. Timing just matters. Like you can, I don't believe that you can like be completely nocturnal, for example, avoid the sun and like have the highest energy possible, unless you are you go to sleep at oh goodness, 5 to 6 a.m.
Are you in construction?
No, he's an artist, right? So Aaron, I know, right, plays the guitar, but also does stuff in the studio. So he lives like a little bit more of an artist life.
Yeah,
but if he's still getting
consistent,
probably.
Because there's other ways to build up consistency, and I mean, like naturally speaking, like or just 101, like no, that's not the best, right? It like the best. Is it bad? I don't know. Now we have to deal with definitions, and
I might be able to touch on that.
Yeah.
So in construction management, the people that work night shift, they age, man. They age. They do not have the energy levels. Like they do not enjoy life. They complain all the time. Like we're talking like 12-hour shifts, and their whole schedule's off. So to me, I think that sleeping during the night is the way to go from a very basic perspective, because I've seen what happens to people, like just the whole face and body, and then all of a sudden they switch back and they light up.
Yeah. And some things are that like maybe we see examples that we're like, okay, like we can point to, but like just think about it. Just like pause for a second and be like, we kind of need the sun. So if you're sleeping at a time where, or if you're not benefiting from the sun at the times when it's at its, whether it's setting, rising, or mid, or like basically the five times of prayer, right? I think there's something really to that. There's a reason that's ancient knowledge. There's a reason that you continuously do that, and I hesitate a lot of times because people get into the space of like, show me the peer-reviewed article about why you need the fucking sun. Like, what do you mean? Like, apologies here, please excuse the French, but it blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, I could, but that seems like a waste of time. Like, if you don't believe, if you need peer-reviewed articles to tell you need sunlight, bro, that's tough. That's all I gotta say.
That's good question, Aaron. Obviously, right? Like, again, nothing's, like you said, nothing's bad or good. We're getting into different semantics here, but like, there's definitely going to be benefits to sleeping consistently at nighttime and getting the sunlight. So we'll go there, and then I'll look at Denise. She asked the final question, right? About, I think, Stu, you had said something about is the wall that's being built, and she asked, is it really a wall, or right? Is it just being confident in yourself that people can't pull you?
I'm glad you brought that up again, because I had lost track of that. So I think it's really both. It just depends on how you look at it. I've always been an extremely empathetic person to the point that it ran my life. So I actually do visualize it as a wall. But with just the wall and no confidence, you're just going to float. You're just going to be isolated. So I do think it is both. And the imagery of, people not pulling you one way or the other definitely makes sense, because with that confidence, you're on a mission, presumably. So you are going in a certain direction. So by you having that imagery associated with it, I'm a big imaginative guy when it comes to these concepts. If you have that don't want to get pulled imagery associated, you have your momentum because you're a confident woman. I think TV personality, something else you mentioned earlier.
Author, that's what she said.
Then, from that perspective, I think you're looking at it the right way. I think it's just everybody likes to visualize these concepts in a different way.
That's huge. And we didn't even really get to dive into the 202 of the money side, and kind of
I'm down for a full episode on that, man. I feel like we could, pick some questions out, some stuff. Shoot, I'm down for that.
We probably could, because I was gonna say, even as we were talking, and thank you for that, Denise. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate everyone that watches, because we're here to just give value, right? We just want to have the thoughtful conversations. When it comes to that 202 side of money, I think that there's even a lot of differences for people, even in that. It was really hard for me to kind of be blanket about, well, this would be the next level, because there might be a 202 of just budgeting, right? Like there's the basic part of budgeting and the 101 side of like, can you make sure that you're limiting yourself and not overspending in certain areas? Then there's a 202 part of that starts to say, what can you remove completely as you go down that path of budgeting? But really, the other 202 side of money has nothing to do with budgeting. It has more, instead of income and expenses, it has more to do with assets and liabilities. So that could be a 202 for somebody. That might be a 303, right? You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of different layers, even on the money side. And I'm sure both of you guys think the same thing and can go the same way too, that like there really are some nuances and some different levels and some different layers. But I think this was a great conversation to have, just on where people are, what conversations are being had at the 101 level, what conversations are being had at a 202 level, what's the mindset behind it, and then how do we get there, right? How do we then improve that knowledge, pass that down? I think this is just good conversation. So, but we try to keep these to an hour, right? For everybody that's locking in, we got to come back next Wednesday and maybe we figure out maybe we do a continue to this. Maybe we do dive a bit deeper into 202 of money and then maybe some other things. But again, we want to hear from all you guys. We want to hear your feedback.
This is the Australian flag. So I am a huge fan of my Australian side. That's probably why I'm kind of crazy myself. So we have a lot of fun down under. It's a different atmosphere than America.
Different atmosphere down under.
It ain't about working and chasing the dough.
Very. So we had a great conversation. Thank you for everyone who joined us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Press the thumbs up, subscribe if you're on YouTube, right? We want to continue to give you the information that you need to put you on the path to achieving that good life, guys. Health, wealth, love, happiness, all those things in order. And look, you got family out there. Denise, you're going to be a regular, Denise. We expect you here every Wednesday now, just so you know. Even if you're going to sleep, we expect you here every Wednesday.
If there's ever a shirt, you get one.
Yeah,
absolutely. She will definitely get one. And to everyone else, Aaron, always coming through. We also appreciate you, brother. So, hey, for everybody, this week we're signing off on another episode of The Good Life. Take care. Enjoy your week. Keep living the good life. Later.